Hello everyone, we are back in another Legacy Doomsday League. I've made a few changes to the list since last time, but not a lot. At its core, this is still a classic stock Grixis Turbo Doomsday list. But a couple things I want to call attention to. One is I'm no longer playing the second Oracle in the sideboard. I just found that it really wasn't doing anything for me. I basically never needed it, I basically never wanted it, I basically never cared about it. And I think the sideboard could be better served with having a different card there. That became this Pact of Negation to just give me the third Pact of Negation. I haven't really tried out higher pact count plans yet. I don't know if I would go all the way up to 4, but I do like the idea of at least 3 with the 1 in the main and then the 2 in the sideboard. Something to experiment more with for sure. Main deck hasn't changed in the past couple times I've played this. The only place I think you could possibly really change, because I think this is a very good 60, but the only thing maybe I could see a case for is a third personal tutor at the expense of a preordain. Sometimes you do have those games where you just play a bunch of cantrips, spin your wheels for a while, and never find a Doomsday, and reducing the likelihood of that occurring is something that could be good. I have trimmed a Polluted Delta in favor of a Misty Rainforest. This is largely just a virtue of the lands that I have on Moto. I don't have the 4th Strand, and I don't have Bloodstained Mires at the moment. Maybe I should get some, but I think that we should be running close to 0 Polluted Deltas, because they're just the most likely to get needled. It does give away some information that we are probably not playing a basic, but honestly, until they've seen our deck, they don't really know that we're not playing Polluted Delta, and once they've seen our deck, then they know we're not playing a basic. So it kind of is irrelevant from that standpoint, and it just bluffs other decks better. No one's needling like Flooded Strand or Misty or something against Doomsday. If they're needling a fetch, they're always going to needle Polluted Delta, and since we don't need to play Polluted Delta, then we shouldn't. I think I talked last time about how Flooded Strand and Bloodstained Mire are probably the best bluffs. Mire Pass reads probably like Black Red Reanimator. Strand Pass reads like Miracles or something of that sort. Misty Pass as well could be something bluffing Miracles, which is when you surprise them with turn 2 fetch Petal Doomsday. Okay, so in the sideboard, the big difference in what I'm doing right now is I have these 2 Nihil Spellbombs. These are an idea that I had to try to have another card against Endurance that does a couple potentially interesting things for us as well. So one is that you can play it out in advance. It just sits on the table and it plays around Endurance no matter when they have it. This is good for situations where you can build a pile that beats Endurance at certain points in the pile, like, for example, if they let you resolve an Ideas Unbound, and you can beat it then, but maybe you can't beat it if they play it in response to the Ideas Unbound. And you don't want to be in those spots where you have to rely on your opponent messing up. I think it's much nicer to just have something that always beats it, as long as you have it out in advance. Or, I mean, you can play it and force the Endurance in response, basically. And so you can use that to do some interesting stuff as well. So, what Nihil Spellbomb also does is, one, it's Grave Hate. So, if you're against an Endurance deck and, Lands is trying to loam back some Wastelands, or Bant is flashing in a Snapcaster, or you're just playing against a Reanimator, you can bring this in as Grave Hate. And finally, one more purpose is it kind of fills a role similar to like Conjurer's Bauble or cantripping artifacts, and it will let you draw a card for black mana. So you can have extra black mana, draw a card with Nihil Spellbomb, and potentially use that to dig into your Doomsday pile if you don't need the graveyard effect. So I think it's an interesting card. Is it better than Relic? I think so, because you don't have to pay mana to crack it. Is it better than Soul Guide Lantern? I think so, because you can... Soul Guide Lantern only targets your opponent. Yes, that's definitely unplayable. Is it better than Crypt? I think the ability to draw a card does potentially make it better than Tormod's Crypt, although I could see a case where you want the freeness of the Crypt as well. Either way. So yeah, we're trying out Nihil Spellbomb. I'm not convinced that it'll be good yet, and I think this league, slight spoilers, I didn't really get enough data on it to be sold one way or another, so I will probably try it again at some point in the future. But something interesting, something to think about, and yeah, the rest of this is pretty standard. We've got Force Negations, we've got Massacre, we've got some Blasts, and we've got the Cavern Sheldock Emrakul thing going on. Alright, so let's hop into match number 1. Alright, so we are here with round number 1 against Chibi3439. We have an opening hand that has some Street Wraiths, some cantrips. This Ideas Unbound is not amazing. We have a personal tutor to find a Doomsday, but I think this is sufficient to keep. We can try and find a land with Ponder and Brainstorm. Brainstorm can put back Ideas Unbound, and we do immediately find a Doomsday, which tells us that we, in addition to the Doomsday, we have 2 Lotus Petals, so we don't need this personal tutor, and we can draw really all of these and either try to play a turn 2 or potentially turn 3 Doomsday, depending on what our opponent shows us. We don't have a second land, so this does make us fairly susceptible to turn 1 Wasteland, except I think this is a risk we are willing to take, given the strength of that possibility. So they show us Snow-Covered Island and Ponder, so this would suggest some type of control deck, probably Miracles. And then we go back to our turn. So we draw our Doomsday, and here I can cycle the Street Wraith, and if I cycle the Street Wraith and get the Petal, then I can play Doomsday. But the thing is I can't even win that turn, because I have only the Street Wraith. Actually, no, I can win that turn. I can Street Wraith into Petal into Brainstorm. But the thing is, Street Wraith gets Petal, and then Petal casts Brainstorm. I have junk in my hands, so that would be a win. The thing is, they're a blue deck. We played C Ponder, so that shows that we are likely we're likely Doomsday, since Doomsday is by far the most common Underground C deck at the moment. And our opponent kept on their Ponder, so if they didn't have interaction, then I think they're fairly likely to shuffle that Ponder, sort of desperately looking for interaction. So I would like to find some interaction in order to try to beat what they might have. So I'm not willing to go for a naked Doomsday here. So we Brainstorm. We know Petal's on top, but there's 2 unknowns below that. Hopefully they're good cards and can get rid of this personal tutor Ideas Unbound. Our opponent counters our Brainstorm with Force of Will, which I am happy about. I can no longer win this turn with Doomsday, but that means that they discarded, or they essentially got rid of one of their interaction pieces. They're likely trying to choke us on mana, but again, that's a risk that I am a-okay with taking. I'm going to play Tropical Island and pass the turn. After another Ponder, on this Ponder, what did they do with this Ponder? They shuffled, so that means that they likely don't have more interaction, I think. I mean, it could just be it's a bad Ponder, but if I read a Ponder Shuffle, I'm more likely to think they're looking specifically for something, and in this matchup, they're looking specifically for interaction, so I'm willing to risk the Doomsday here. I don't really think we have any other avenues as well. We can pass the turn, but what exactly are we hoping to draw? I mean, maybe like a Force of Will, but I think the odds are, because our situation is not really getting better in the short term, I'm willing to just jam the Doomsday here, hope that was their one Force of Will. And the Doomsday does resolve, so it was their one Force of Will. And we have an interesting pile decision here. So we have 1 land, we have 2 Straight Wraiths. We could try to win this turn with some sort of Lion's Eye Diamond pile. I actually don't remember what I do here. I think they could have Endurance. It's a possibility. What else could they have? If they had a counterspell, they would have used it on the Doomsday. So the biggest possibility, I think, is probably Endurance. And the Lion's Eye Diamond pile would it be Endurance? We go, hang on here. So we go, thinking for a second. We could also go for Mana Ideas Unbound. The thing with Mana Ideas Unbound is that it doesn't beat Endurance. If we go Diamond, we cycle into Diamond, we play Diamond, we go Wraith, crack Diamond. What do we get? Well, we can't get Ideas Unbound because it's already in our hand. So that's a little bit awkward. We would have to just cycler our way down to Thassa's Oracle, but then we can't put a Pact in the pile. So because this Ideas Unbound is already in our hand, we basically can't. We can't put a Pact in the pile that we can have up for when we play Oracle. That being said, Endurance is not. I mean, they play like maybe one in the main deck, I feel like, so I think I'm willing to risk it on an Ideas pile here, where we just grab 2 petals, or like petal land. And the thing is, if they counter the Ideas, then sure, we can just play the Oracle the next turn. So the Ideas is kind of bait, because they might think that we're able to get like a counterspell with this Ideas, even though here we can't. So we do have some game against counter magic. We don't have any game against Endurance. If they have it, they'll get us, but again, like I said, it's a one-of. It's probably not that likely. So we play the Ideas. We go for it with petals. And we get game number 1. All right, fantastic. So we're up a game against Miracles. As far as sideboarding, so I bring in the Blasts, I bring in the Caverns, I bring in the Emrakul and the Shelldock. And I think I actually forget to bring in the Nihil Spellbombs here. I just am not used to like bringing them in. So even though this is a matchup where I would want to test them, I just forgot. I don't like Daze very much against Miracles. Frequently they have mana up when they're fighting us, so it's pretty close to dead against them. It's pretty close to dead against a lot of decks post-board, I feel like. Alright, so here's game number 2. We have Street Wraith, Lotus Petal, Doomsday, Brainstorm, and 3 lands. I think this hand is quite decent. We have the ability to turn to Doomsday. We have this Brainstorm to try and find us some interaction. They lead on Flooded Strand. We pick up a Ponder. I'm going to play the Sea first in case I want to end up turn 2ing this Doomsday. That preserves the option rather than leading on Valk. And it's not like our Sea is going to get Wastelanded. If I thought, if there were a Wasteland deck, then I'm maybe more inclined to lead on this Valk so that it eats the Wasteland. And we find we didn't see great cards off the Ponder, so we took Personal Tutor. I think Street Wraith would have been our best card. We'd really like some interaction. Personal Tutor is not in for interaction. We just got that off the shuffle. So because they showed an interest in countering Brainstorm aggressively in the first game, I'm gonna not play this Brainstorm here and just try to save it for maybe their end step or when they're tapped out. Especially if I can like end step Brainstorm and they fluster it or something. But here they're tapping out for a Quaddle, so I'll take the opportunity to resolve this Brainstorm. We hit Duress, which is quite good. Since, it's a way of getting through a spell. Or, we can take a look at their hands, see if we can go for it, since we definitely can kill them if they don't have interaction. So they untap, they play a land, attack us down to 19, or to 18, and then pass back to us. So here I make a mistake. So I reflexively play that land, figuring that that lets this duress player on Fluster. If they Fluster, then they have 2 copies. I can pay for it, and then I can pedal it Doomsday, Street Wraith, LED, and win. But the thing is, if I don't play the land, then I can, if they Fluster, then I can writ in response to the Fluster to pay for the Fluster. And then I have 2 petals, the land drop, Street Wraith, Doomsday, LED to have my mana. I also have 1 mana left over from Ritual, so I'll have plenty of mana to still play Doomsday and kill them with Street Wraith, LED. And why this is relevant, you'll see right here. It means that even though they have 2 endurance, we take the Brainstorm. So we can resolve our Doomsday, we can resolve our spells, but the thing is here, I can't go for a Shelldock Emrakul pile anymore. And the reason I can't go for that is because they can just flash into Doomsday. This will put me to 8. If I play the Doomsday now, they flash in an Endurance, hit me to 4. I untap, I draw Shelldock, I put Emrakul under Shelldock, and then they hit me to 0. And sure, maybe I can like Street Wraith into... No, I don't even have removal for Endurances. I mean, I could like try to get them to use the Endurances aggressively, and if they do, maybe Street Wraith into a pile that can win with Oracle. But I think I would rather just try to beat the Oracles straight up than rely on them potentially making a mistake. Well, no, is that... The thing is, if they don't... Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, the more maybe I did have Shelldock on the table still, even though I'm dead on board, essentially, if I do that. Yeah, because if they play one, then that's 1 less one that they have. And so even if I play the Shelldock, I'm at 4. They just have an Endurance in hand, and I have Street Wraith LED to beat Endurance. And the thing is there, they can just... Yeah, no, I can't... No, this is... It is correct that I can't make the Shelldock pile, because then they just cast the second Endurance when I try to Street Wraith crack LED in response to... or like after I've Shelldocked the Emrakul, and there's only 3 cards left, so I can't play an Ideas Unbound, nor can I beat, like, I need to go up on cards somehow, and the only ways to go up on cards are Ideas Unbound or Brainstorm, since I need a counter spell for the Endurance, and I need to Oracle to play it, but I can't have Ideas be my 3rd card down, because then I Ideas with only 2 cards left in my deck, and then I lose. Same deal with Brainstorm, plus I don't have Brainstorm fodder. So I can't actually beat even the 1 Endurance if I make the Shelldock pile. So it's pretty free for them to play out the first Endurance and attack me with it. And the thing is, they don't know what I have. Maybe they just wouldn't play the Endurance, and then I would get to Emrakul them. But I don't think we can rely on our opponent making a mistake there. I think we have to assume that our opponent is going to play well, especially since they haven't really given us a reason to assume that they're going to make a mistake. So what I'm thinking about here instead is piles that can potentially beat a double Endurance this turn. So we do have a lot of mana. That's one thing we have going for us. And what I'm looking to do here is pick up Pact of Negations in order to beat these Endurances. So I can try to what was I going to say? So yeah, so if I have Pact of Negations, then I can just counter them. So the thing is, I need to resolve Ideas Unbound. And if I resolve Ideas Unbound and pick up the Pact of Negations, then great. But the problem is, before I resolve Ideas Unbound, I will have Street Wraith, Doomsday, and at least one of either Lotus Petal or Lion's Eye Diamond in the graveyard. So I'll have 3 cards in the graveyard. So a pile like Ideas, Pact, Cycler, Oracle just doesn't work because they can endurance in response to the ideas. So what else can I do? Well, I still have to build an ideas pile, but I can build an ideas pile that tries to draw into itself at the end in order to give me a chance of winning. So basically what I mean by that is we only play like 1 Pact of Negation in the pile, but we have a Cycler, and sure, they're going to endurance us, but then we can Cycler into the endurance pile and hope to clear enough of it that we can kill them with Oracle. So it's not a great place to be in, but I think it is the only place to be in. I think I like this better than giving them an untap in another turn. Thought about trying to make a pile that has like a Thoughtseize, but there's just too many cards in the graveyard that doesn't work. Notably, I can only take 1 edge here because I only have 3 lands, and if I'm figuring that maybe I'll cast edge twice, or no, I can take 2 edge because I can have edge be how I draw into the endurance back graveyard. Okay, I think I could have taken either edge or Street Wraith there, but I think I counted the life, and Street Wraith is just fine, so it's safer to take Street Wraith. So here, we can put Oracle. We can put 2 Cyclers. And then we put Ideas Unbound. And we cycle Street Wraith. We crack Diamond. Since it's Diamond or Petal, Diamond gives us more mana. And now they actually should... They should endurance in response to this Ideas. So, all right. The thing is, if they endurance in response to that, they have to endurance in response to that Ideas, kind of because I can play Pact, and then I can, like, if I just put double Pact Cycler here, then they just lose, even though they have double endurance. So this is going to sound like kind of salty, but the pile I built wins if they play correctly. And now we need to have Street Wraith on top. So we have a low chance, but we still do have actually we could have Street Wraith, some mix of Street Wraith and or Ideas on top. So let's figure out, I guess, what are our odds? We need at least, well, if Ideas is on top, then that's fine. Or if we have any Street Wraiths on top, that's fine. So we basically need, we need Doomsday or LED to not be in the top. So Doomsday or LED can't be on top. So that is 60% that they're not on top. And if they aren't on top, then there's a chance that so then there's a chance that if we have Street Wraith on top and then Doomsday or LED, that's also bad. So then there's a 40% times 60%, or no, 40% times 50% chance. That's an additional 20. So we have a 20%. I don't remember the math. In any case, I gut wise, I'm going to say it works out to somewhere around 50-50. That we can beat the double endurance here, so I can beat So I win 100% of the time if they time their endurance correctly, or I win about 50% of the time in this spot. So I think that's better than just putting 2 pacts in the pile and hoping that they make a mistake and then winning 100% of the time if they make a mistake. Now, maybe they leveled us and thought all about all this and said, okay, they're going to have a pile that can beat double endurance if I don't endurance at this time, and like the pile they could beat that would beat me would be that the pile that they won't build, because if I play correctly then I'm gonna lose. So maybe they leveled us, but they didn't. They just made a mistake and got rewarded for it. So all right. Again, I don't want that to sound too much like I'm like complaining that my opponent like didn't do the thing I expected or something like that, but there's like, I think that's decently clear cut that they should have enduranced in response to the ideas based on the information they have. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't. Like, if I go up cards, then I can just have double counterspell. And even if they don't know that I'm playing 2 pacts, they know at the very least I should have a pact and a daze. They don't know I cut the daze. I mean, whatever. Anyway, so we have game 3. We have a cantrip. I blast the cantrip. Since I only have 1 red source and I have 2 blasts, I'm looking to just kind of aggressively trade one of them, and then use the other to protect my Doomsday. So here I'm looking at being able to Doomsday next turn backed up by Blast, which is a pretty good spot to be in. I also have this Cavern of Souls in my hand already, which is kind of handy. So I have a Flooded Strand. We have a Lotus Petal. Play out Lotus Petals. And then we're just going to go for it. We beat Force here. We do lose to 2 pieces of interaction, which is not great, but I don't really think things are getting better for us. So we play Doomsday. And what do they got? Well, they have Force and we have Blast. And our Doomsday resolves. Fantastic. So here, I'd like to build a pile that can beat Endurance and also can beat Counter Magic. So I do have this Cavern in hand. I could build a Cyclers and Oracle pile, but the thing is that loses to Endurance. I could build an Ideas Unbound pile that is probably going to lose to Counter Magic. So this is a perfect situation for Emrakul, since we know that they don't have any real pressure against us. And I can take actually 2 pieces of interaction in the pile, so I take Pact and Pyroblast, since I already have this Cavern of Souls in hand. So Doomsday resolves, they crack their Flooded Strand, they do nothing on their next turn. We play Sheldock, putting Emrakul in. And I think I set it up so that Pact of Negation is on the top. Yeah, so I put it so Pact of Negation is on the top because I can actually just afford to pay for Pact. So just having that as an option is good. Since it's the most general purpose answer, Reb is a little more narrow. They ponder, again, sure. We get to our turn, we draw Pact, and now we are casting this Emrakul. So we get the extra turn trigger. We have 2 mana up. I'm kind of reading this as Dress Down. We play the Cavern named Merfolk. We move to our extra turn, and we get ready to attack them. We draw Oracle. So beginning of combat, we can see if they go for the dress down here. They do, so that they don't Annihilator. We're going to Pact it. If they have a counter, then they can counter our Pact, and then we can just play uncounterable Oracle and win. And potentially, I mean, they could endurance us, but if they endurance us, then we just have more turns to kill them with Emrakul, because remember, we just have an Emrakul in play too. So we pact that, they let it resolve, so next turn I'm going to pay for the pact, so I can swing. Our opponent's going to be on 0 lands, 2 life. We're going to top deck Reb, and we're going to have protection while we try to kill them with Emrakul. They have seen enough, they give up, and we get round number 1, 2-1. So great, we're off to a 1-0 start, and we'll be back in a second with round number 2. Alright, so round number 2, I'm here against Rack GL. We have an opening hand that can probably play a turn 2 Doomsday as long as I hit okay with this Ponder. We have Force Pitching Ponder if needed, and we have a couple lands and some mana, so this hand is solid. Our opponent leads on Badlands Putrid Imp, so this is suggesting that this is the Hollow One deck, or the Vengevine deck, the Root Wallas. I could Force Pitch Ponder on this Putrid Imp. The thing is, this matchup is very much about speed, and if I want to turn 2 them, I need to find, you know, Dark Ritual or a Black Land or something like that. In addition, I would like to find like Black Land plus Cycler so that I could kill them on turn 2 and not need to pass the turn. So if I Force Pitch Ponder on this Putrid Imp, I'm just sitting here drawing cards for a little bit. If they have any other sort of enabler, then I'm probably just dead. So I think I would rather rely on the fact that Putrid Imp isn't their best enabler. For example, if they had Lion's Eye Diamond, I think I'd be more likely to force that. And so I'll let the Putrid Imp go. Let's say they put, you know, 4 power into play or 6 power into play or something. That's still a couple turn clock, and I'm just looking to kill them on turn 2. So I mean, sure, they can put more power into play on turn 2, but even if, let's say they drop a Vengevine here. I get hit to 16, take another hit down to, I don't know, 10, 8, something like that, and then try and kill them on my turn 2. So I think I'm willing to risk that this will be a mediocre hand out of them in order to up my likelihood of being able to outright kill them on turn 2, instead of countering this, and then if they have another enabler, then I'm just floundering around and hoping I top deck really well. They do have a Vengevine. No, I could lose here if they have like triple Vengevine or something, but they just have 1 Vengevine and then a Root Walla. So, sure, they have 6 power into play. And they hit us for 4 down to 16. 3 cards left in hand. On our turn, they discard a Faithless Looting too. Whatever. And a Hollow One. That's a little... I think about forcing this, but the thing is, if I force this again, I don't turn 2 them. And if I let this Hollow One resolve, they have 10, or if they play a land, 12 power, which would take me down to 4, which I can still just win with Doomsday on turn 2, even from 4. So basically the only way I lose here is if this Ponder bricks, or if they have another Vengevine next turn, which off of 1 card in hand, they're not the most likely to. I see Dark Ritual, Street Wraith, and Dark Ritual is good. The problem is Street Wraith is not actually good, because they can hit me for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, put me to 4, Doomsday to 2, and Street Wraith is turned off. Now maybe they won't have an extra land, but that is not the greatest. But the thing here is, with Dark Ritual, no, what was I thinking about? I don't remember what I was thinking about. So what's the play? Do they just not have another land? I guess I just had to bet that they don't have another land and take the Dark Rit. Oh, they Burning Inquiry. I could, again, force pitch Oracle on that, but maybe I should have force pitched Oracle on that. Oh no, I can't, because Oracle's my win con, duh. I forgot I wasn't playing 2 Oracles, because I did that for a little while. So they hit me down to 6. Fortunately, a couple things are good here. One is that I have Street Wraith available for post Doomsday. 2 is that I didn't discard the Doomsday or the Dark Rit. So now we just win easily. I guess I can show you the pile I made. I think I just make a classic ideas pile. It's not like they have anything that that can interact with us game 1. Okay, so we cycle down to 1, edge, pick up the ideas, and then ideas has petal, Oracle. We almost have Force of Will up, other than the fact that it would kill us, but again, they just won't have any interaction for this in game 1. We get game 1. Okay, so for sideboarding here, against Urwalas, Nihil Spellbomb can come in. They are a graveyard deck, so playing that on turn 1. Pact, they're not likely to have interaction on our turn, so that can come out. And I can cut a Daze because, I mean, sometimes maybe they can just play around it. Also, I'm on the draw, so it's a little bit worse on the draw. I also like Force of Negations over the rest of the Dazes, because you can just like force a Lion's Eye Diamond or one of their enablers, ideally. Since they're going to be only keeping hands that play turn 1 enablers. If they had a creature, then okay, maybe you can't force negation it, but it's not like Daze would have helped you there anyway. So they are on the play, and we keep a hand that is a little bit slow, but it does have a force of negation for an early Lion's Eye Diamond. And we do have a lot of cantrips, so maybe we can sculpt into whatever we need. They do have an early Lion's Eye Diamond, so we can counter this with Force Negation. Perfect. They followed up with a Burning Inquiry and then played a Rootwalla. Burning Inquiry definitely messed up our hand a little bit. We got rid of 2 of our 3 cantrips. Picking up Dark Ritual is not bad, though. An Edge of Autumn is also not bad. Thassa's Oracle is a bit dead. Lion's Eye Diamond is a Street Wraith. We need to do better than this. We really need a Doomsday. So our opponent attacks us with the Rootwalla. It looks like forcing their Lion's Eye Diamond definitely messed up their hand a bit. Again, this is not really what we're looking for. We just need some draw. They play a Looting and a Kitchen Imp. And then they can hit us for 3 down to 13. We brainstorm and we again miss. They're on brainstorming on the end step, hoping that just to try to use the mana a little bit more efficiently. But maybe I should have waited a turn. It's possible. Done it on my main phase here. We had all junk, so now we need to take a hit. We can take 5. We can fetch, and then we can hope to top deck something good. Force of Will. I played out the petal so that, well, I guess I don't need to. But basically what I'm looking at is I could Dark Ritual Force of Will if needed. They play Faithless Looting. Again, I'll let that happen. They haven't played any creatures yet, so if like a Vengewine were to come back, I can counter like when they start to play. Well, no, it's if they play 2 creatures, right? So maybe I have to worry about that. I could have a hollow one. Burning Inquiry I am a-okay with here. I would like a different hand, please. I'm going to fetch first. We hit a Brainstorm, Dark Rit, Street Wraith. Thoughtseize is kind of useless, but this Brainstorm does give us a chance at finding something. And they hit us for 5, down to 7. So this is the last turn I've got, especially since they're playing the hollow one here. Actually, no, it's not, because if I find Force Blue card... So if I find Force... No, that doesn't work. Force Blue card puts me in 6th, I take 5, go to 1. So I actually shouldn't have brainstormed in response to that hollow one. I was thinking that if I counter the hollow one, then I can potentially take a hit for 4. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I can take a hit for 5, go to 2, and then still Doomsday. But the thing is, that just isn't good enough. Because I don't have Dazes in my deck anymore, so if I were to counter this, it would have to be with Force. So I should have just waited on that Brainstorm. I'd see 1 card deeper, maybe that could have made the difference. That being said, we've seen half our deck, and we've seen 0 Doomsdays or Personal Tutors yet, so definitely a bit unlucky so far this game. We fetch, we cycle Street Wraith, we find a Nihil Spellbomb, which in theory we could sacrifice and try to find a Brainstorm. But I decided to not. Should I have showed them the Nihil Spellbomb? So if I Nihil Spellbomb, sacrifice it, find a Brainstorm, put back like Diamond Petal and get like Doomsday and draw or something. Yeah, I should have played and cracked that Spellbomb in the event that I find Brainstorm into Doomsday. There is a chance, although the thing is there's only 1 Brainstorm left in the deck, so the fact that it has to be runner, I guess it could also be Ideas Unbound into Doomsday, but the fact that it has to be 2 outs on top and then like another... Yeah, the fact that it requires multiple runners means that I think maybe I'd rather just not show them the Nihil Spellbomb. Although, really, what are they going to do with the Spellbomb info? Nothing. Maybe play more aggressively than they otherwise would with their graveyard. I don't know. I think there's a case that could be made either way there. The odds are so low of hitting, so maybe the information is worth something. Something to think about. In any case, I just want to go as fast as possible in this matchup, so I'm just swapping out my Dazes for Force of Negations still. Even on the play, the thing is with Daze, they can just go like land Lion's Eye Diamond and it's useless. I'd rather have the ability to like kill Lion's Eye Diamond no matter what, because Lion's Eye Diamond is their most threatening starts. We have a very good hand here where we can just turn 1 Doomsday, and then win on turn 2 when we have a Force backup the whole time. I should have maybe not played this Petal until after the Doomsday, if at all, just to play around Mindbreak Trap a little bit better. Yes, I do have Force, but I don't know, suppose they have Mindbreak Trap and then they have something that like messes us up after a Doomsday. In any case, I built an Ideas pile. They don't play Wasteland. They probably don't have any interaction, maybe some blasts or something, which like Force of Will can answer. Let me just hold up Force here. Our opponent leads on Taiga. Notably, I made a pile that doesn't really require any additional life loss in case they just like hit us with a couple Vengevines. I don't want to be unable to win from 6 life or something. And I think here I do force the diamond. They could have Blast, but I think the bigger threat is that they just like drop some Vengevines and kill us. So I think I'm willing to force that diamond. If they just have a nut Vengevine hand, they could win. They have looting. Just play some Root Wallas. And then it's our turn. We play Ideas Unbound. We are susceptible to trap here, but they didn't have it last turn. They would have tried to use it, so I'm not too scared of it. I think maybe I could have built a better pile. I think I have to build an ideas pile there because I want to win the next turn. The only questionable decision there is if I should have forced the Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, so we're here with match number 3 against Arkin. We are up 2 matches in this league, so we are 2-0. We keep a hand that has some counter magic, some mana. We're kind of leaning a bit on this Ponder. We do have Dark Rit Personal Tutor, so that is kind of exactly what we're looking for. We want a Doomsday and we want some acceleration. And we do have some of the mana already, so maybe the Dark Rit isn't as needed, but this Personal Tutor is decently important. I'll still take Dark Rit over. I think the third card was a land. There you play Valk, Dragon Rage. They are likely Delver. I dazed this. I don't know that I should have dazed this. Should I have dazed that? Yeah, so I could keep that daze as force fodder. Or no, maybe it's, I know that there's an arbitrary blue card, the third, no I don't. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. That was a little bit bad, I think. Anyway, on their turn they Wasteland and Ponder. We have a Doomsday on top that we're going to draw. They didn't shuffle with the Ponder, so I'm interested in waiting until I can find a blue card for this force here. I guess maybe the concern was that I wouldn't be able to win this same turn because I didn't have very much draw, so I wanted to just minimize their clock that's on the table. And pick up a Pact of Negation, which is good. Now this means that I can go for Doomsday here with Pact back up. We're looking to make a pass the turn pile. So we need to be able to beat Ragavan. We also need to be able to beat Wasteland. Those are the two like concerns for what Delver can do to us with pass the turn in game number 1. If the Doomsday resolves, it means they probably don't have any counter magic. I mean, they could have days that they're not going to burn into this pedal. But we can kind of assume that they don't have any forces in hand. So if they have a force in hand, it's because they top deck it. So while we would like to build a pile that beats force, I think we're more interested in building a pile that beats some combination of Daze, Wasteland, and Ragavan. Dash Ragavan. So let's see here. I can put a Cycler on top, and then I can put Ideas. And then I can build an Ideas collection. The thing is, if they have Wasteland, then I draw the Cycler, I Cycler Diamond, and I can play the Ideas. And that also beats Daze, because I just have this pedal sitting here for Daze. So that beats like Daze plus Wasteland. It also beats Ragavan, because Ragavan eats the Cycler, I draw Ideas, I play Ideas, crack Diamond. So that beats Ragavan plus Daze. It doesn't beat Wasteland plus Dash Ragavan, but I think that is the way to go. It seems to beat the widest combination of things that they could have. So what do I build here exactly? Oh yeah, I build a pile that is a bit weird. Do I... Yeah, that is a bit weird. Not entirely sure what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking that my line is to Ideas, duress them, and then Street Wraith, Diamond, Oracle, which is good, but I think it's more susceptible against everything besides what? Well, how does this do against Wasteland plus Ragavan? So Ragavan eats Street Wraith. I draw ideas. I'm wastelanded. I play C and Duress. I think it's still bad against that. That's not great. I kind of like putting... I guess the choice is just Duress or Pact. None of those I like Pact better. Pact doesn't work with Diamond, but I can just crack Diamond earlier. But if I crack Diamond earlier, it does rely on... So I guess the thing is, if I crack Diamond earlier, it relies on me winning that turn. Versus this way, if the ideas gets countered, I can save the Diamond, just play the Duress normally, and then Wraith Diamond Oracle in like my last turn. So they have expressive iterations. They don't, I mean, they could solve Wasteland. They don't have Ragavan dashed. And then they play a Dragon's Rage, which is not a big deal. So unless they found... They need double days. Yeah, they need... No, double days doesn't even do it. They need force to win here. Double days, I just don't cast the Duress. They daze, so I can pay for that with the Diamond. And they did find the force with the expressive iteration. So that's kind of annoying. I do still have a land and Oracle in my pile, so next turn I can draw Duress, then I draw land. I think I'm still dead to this Ragavan before things can play out, but they just have a Wasteland anyway, so they just had everything. I think kind of giving them just, you know, whatever cantrips they can get to. Like, they played one expressive iteration, they found a force. I mean, sometimes that's just going to happen. If we build a cycler pile, we just lose to Wasteland, so we can't really build a cycler pile. We have to build a pile that goes up cards, which means we need to build an Ideas Unbound pile. So, yeah, that is... So we're down a game against Blue-Red Delver. So let's go on to sideboarding. I don't like Daze against Ragavan decks, really. Ragavan's making a million treasures and making Daze irrelevant. So I cut Daze. We can cut a Preordain. And besides that, Shelldock Emrakul is not for this. Nihil Spellbomb is not for this. Force Negation is not for this. So we'll run it like this. Cavern and the Blasts. Alright. Thought about bringing one Daze back in for a Preordain, but I don't think I end up doing it. Alright, so we have a... Okay, so game 2, we have a 7 that's pretty bad. We have no selection, we don't even have a blue card for this force, we have no Doomsday, we just have a bunch of mana, an Edge of Autumn, and a Force of Will that are kind of useless. So we mull this. This hand just doesn't do anything. We mull to... Hey, wait. Oh wait, this is our 5? Oh, hang on. There's a 7 before that. Oh yeah, this is our 7. This is also bad, it just doesn't do anything. Street Wraith, Petal, Force, 4 lands. Sort of same boat, Cycler, mana, and a Force with no blue card. So again, we just can't really keep that. Oh, I also brought in the Pacts. Did I bring in the Pacts? Yeah, I did bring in the Pacts, obviously, because it's Delver. You should bring them in against Delver. If I didn't there, it was just because I forgot. So we keep this 5. It's kind of the same 5 as our 6 and 7, but I'd rather keep that than go to 4. We do at least have this Dark Writ. Play Strand and pass. Draw a Brainstorm, which is decent, and goes with Force. We can what's it called? We can use it to try and do some selection. We cycle the Street Wraith first, just to try and get a card deeper, since I'm expecting to have to be able to pass the turn pile. We hit a Doomsday, so I mean we can just go for it here. We can Doomsday through days with Force backup. So off a mull to 5, it's really not getting any better than this. To turn 2 Doomsday through days with Force backup. They have Force, we Force back. And they have Pyroblast. So they had 2 pieces of interaction. So now we are just dead. I mean, they Wasteland us, we draw a Petal, play a Narset, we're just super dead. We cycle the Street Wraith and concede, just, you know, in anger, pay 2 life. We're not doing anything here. So we are 2-1 now, having lost to Blue-Red Delver. Generally not considered a good matchup for Doomsday. I think in game 1 we had a real good shot. They just top decked a Force. I mean, cantripped it and had a Force in their top 3 or 4, I guess, because their draw step. And in game 2 we mulled 5, had about as good of a shot as you can get off of a mull to 5. We had turn 2 Doomsday beating one piece of interaction, and they had 2 pieces of interaction, so we're dead. Anyway, on to match number 4. Alright, so we're here with match number 4 against Laughing Rock. So our opening hand is pretty good. We have some cantrips, we have a Dark Writ, we have a Street Wraith. We're just looking for a Doomsday and maybe a bit of interaction. Our opponent leads on Thespian Stage, which is great for us, because that means this is lands, and lands is a very good matchup. We see 2 cards we don't necessarily care about here, so we bottom with Preordain, and we pick up Doomsday. Doomsday here is a turn 1 win. We can Petal, Dark Writ, Doomsday, Street Wraith into a Petal, and then Brainstorm and have 2 junk cards to put back. So against lands that can't really have any interaction for us, game 1, we just Preordained into the turn 1 kill. So I mean, I'll kind of speed through it a little bit. So we Doomsday. Three Petals, Street Wraith, Oracle. There's a couple different kills you can make with this Brainstorm here, but this is what I went with. You can do stuff involving LED. If you can't actually do the Ideas Unbound pile unless you have the Brainstorm and the mana in your hand, I don't think. But just put 2 junk cards back and then we Petal Oracle. Could have easily had an LED be here and then just Oracle, put Oracle back, LED into Oracle with Cycler. Same idea. Alright. So we got game number 1 against lands. Bring in Force and Negations because they can have lock pieces. On the draw, I'm taking out Daze. 1 Pact and Negation because they could have Endurance. Duress, I mean, yes, they can have like a Trinisphere or something, but I'd rather just have the Force Negation that counters it for free rather than have to worry about Duress finding it. I was thinking about, I guess, if I wanted a second Pact, maybe in case there's like double Endurance. I don't think I do, though. I do? That's a little iffy. Shelldock Chemical is bad against Wasteland, but Does sometimes give a different angle of attack. I probably do I bring in Shelduck Emrakul? I guess I did. I don't know if I agree with that. And sometimes you just like go fast and get them, but like, well, I guess here's the thing: if they don't have Wasteland, it is pretty good against like they're an endurance deck, and they're an endurance deck with like lock pieces. Doesn't really matter against port because you can just play the Emrakul in response to them porting Shelduck. And it gives us something to do if we turn one a Doomsday. I don't hate it. It's not the worst. The exploration, I can think about forcing this exploration. The thing is here, like, exploration is not really going to do anything against our hand. Since we have like this pedal, we have fetch lands. So if they like were to try to like regrow some wastelands with a loam, then I could think about forcing the loam. But right now I just found a Doomsday and I'm looking at just playing a turn 2 Doomsday. Here, if they were to play out like a sphere or something, then I would need to force that. So I'm good with holding back the force there. The Saga into Valakut Exploration. Apparently that's a playable card. First I heard of it. Exile the top card. Yeah, so I guess I force it because I know I'm playing Doomsday next turn, and I'd rather not just get like chunked for a bunch of damage after Doomsday, since I'm going to have to make a past the turn pile. I do have this Nihil Spellbomb to deal with endurance if needed. Alright, so we Doomsday. We want to make a pile here that can beat Wasteland and Endurance. So if we need to go up on cards to do this. I guess we don't have to strictly go. We could beat one or the other without going up on cards with a Cycler pile. But here, if I just play Misty, ideas, if they Wastelanded me, then I can, well, so if they don't Wasteland me, I can just play Nihil Spellbomb right away. If they do Wasteland me, I can still play Nihil Spellbomb right away and just wait an extra turn. And they have to Endurance there. And I can just ideas the turn after that. So I still can beat both Endurance plus Endurance plus Wasteland. They have a Dark Depths, they have another Valakut Exploration. But it looks like they just had Mox Diamond, another Valakut, and they don't have any cards that interact with me, so they're just super dead to Ideas Unbound. And I just play the Nihil Spellbomb first, because why not? But Ideas, Petal, Oracle, and they are dead. And so we are 3-1, picking up the match against lands. So we're beating the easy matchups and losing to the hard matchup. So far, results seem pretty in line with what we would expect. All right, so we will go to match number 5. All right, so we're here with match number 5 against Mad Lame Guy. Our opening hand has some cantrips, lands, Straight Wraith Petal. Happily keep this. Have the ability to sculpt, have the ability to look for either interaction or a quick kill as needed. Our opponent leads on Snow-Covered Island and passes, so probably a control deck. We draw a Doomsday for our turn, which is great. Now we're just pondering, looking for some interaction. We find a Daze, which is something, although Daze is not good against control decks. I could have turned to a Doomsday here, but I'm not interested in just running it into whatever permission they have, given I only have a daze, and they have 2 mana up. So we brainstorm, we find a Thoughtseize, which is pretty good. And then I Thoughtseize them. Daze might be good if they have like a tap out turn 3 threat. Narset or Hull Breacher or Teferi or something. They brainstorm. And then after the brainstorm we can take a dress down. So they have 3 irrelevant cards. I would imagine that they have like a Force of Will on top. They had Uro, Snapcaster, and Quaddle. So on our turn, we draw a Ponder. Again, I'm not necessarily interested in rushing this, although I did pick up a Force of Will, which is good and maybe changes things, since I know that they likely have specifically a Force as what we need to beat. Now I can see Petal Doomsday, and I have Force backup for whatever is going on. So we Ponder. Wait, I Ponder? I guess maybe I figured there was no rush because they shuffled with Misty. So if I can find a second piece of interaction here, maybe I can kill the same turn. Yeah, land threatens a kill the same turn. Interaction threatens a kill the same turn. I guess I was a little bit scared about Snapcaster into Brainstorm. No, but they have to pitch Uro. There's no way. I think I maybe should have made a pile there. We draw a Dark Rit. Do I now audible into going for it? I love that. I think I should have just gone previously. Except I knew the Dark Rit was there. So it's just clearing it. Yeah, whatever. I guess it doesn't really matter either way then. Would I rather have the Ponder or the Dark Rit in my hand? Or would I rather have the Ponder in my hand? Yeah, I would rather have the Ponder in my hand, so this was a bit worse. Dark Rit, Doomsday. It's not like this helps me play around Daze, because they don't have Daze, they're Miracles. This would have been better if I had to play around Daze. They Force Pitch Uro, we have Force Pitch Daze. They can Snapcaster Brainstorm, looking for something. Looking for a blue card to pair with Ice Fang, or a Force to pair with Ice Fang. But it appears that they don't hit. We know that they don't have counter magic, otherwise they would have used it, so I mean they get a top deck to find something to stop an Ideas Unbound pile. Since an Ideas Unbound pile and a Cyclo pile both lose to a Force, I am okay with making my pile be an Ideas Unbound pile. Then if they force the Ideas Unbound, then I can just place the Oracle towards the top of that and try again, versus if my Oracle gets counter, I'm just dead. And if they let the Ideas resolve, then I'll have a Pact of Negation to stop whatever they're up to. Also, this will only have 2 cards in the graveyard when Ideas Unbound is on the stack, so I can actually fit a lot of interaction in here. And even if they like Endurance earlier, then that's just fine. And I can Street Wraith into like a Pact to defend the Ideas Unbound, since I don't have to use my Street Wraith right now. Okay, so let's see what they do. They play Quaddle. They're probably trying to find another piece of interaction. They hit us with Snapcaster. We draw a Pact. We cycle into Ideas. Now we have a defended Ideas. I mean, in theory, I guess they could have something, but we've got this locked up. So we can Thoughtseize them first in case they do have 2 pieces of interaction. We take an Endurance that they couldn't have played anyway. And then we play Oracle. And we win game number 1. So again, against Bant, usual sideboarding plan, except I'm trying out these Nihil Spellbombs. Days out. And we can cut some preordains too. I don't think I want all these pacts. Yeah. Yeah, they're not in. Okay, so our 7 has no lands. We can't keep that. It's a bad hand. Our 6 is not great, but we will keep it. I mean, we have Pact. We have this like Spellbomb. We have a Dark Writ. We have a couple cantrips. I mean, this is okay. So our opponent leads on Flooded Strand. We lead on Ponder, picking up Red Blast and Dark Ritual, which is not what we want to see. We want a land and a Doomsday. So we brainstorm and we find a Doomsday, so that's quite good. We are actually threatening to win this turn, since we can... Oh no, we're threatening to win next turn. We can Writ Doomsday, we have Wraith Diamond to get into the pile, we have a Nihil Spellbomb that we can play out in advance off the second Writ. That is either cycling or endurance protection, and we have a Pact to help our Doomsday resolve. So this is actually about as good of a spot as we could be in for a Mull to 6 stuck on one land. And so this turn we go for it. Dark Writ. Dark Writ. And Doomsday. And they have Flusterstorm. So we could have beat, you know, Force of Will, Force of Negation, Counterspell. We could have beaten a non-Flusterstorm Counterspell, but we can't beat a Flusterstorm here. We could have beaten like Force of Will plus Endurance. We could have beaten Dress Down plus Endurance. We could have actually also beaten Dress Down plus Force, because we can pack the Force, let the Dress Down resolve, and then kill the Dress Down with a Blast before we get through our pile. But it turns out they had Flusterstorm, and we're stuck with these blasts. We do draw a Doomsday, which is good, because I mean it means we get another shot in theory. We just need to hit a third land. They have an active Sylvan library, so the odds that this Doomsday resolves are fairly low. And then they have an Aethersworn Canonist, which is also quite bad, because now we can't defend our Doomsday with counter magic. Back to basics. So our Volk is tapped down. We can try to resolve Doomsday here. They have 6 cards in hand. It's not going to resolve, but we just try. And they have Force of Will. Okay, so I mean, we tried from all to 6, and like I said, if they had interaction other than Fluster, we would have won that game. Even multiple other non-Fluster interaction pieces, we could have won that game, but sometimes they have it. That's how it goes. So let's go on to game number 3. I'm going to keep things the same submission-wise. Has some discard, has Dark Writ, Street Wraith, Ponder. This is pretty good. We can force our way through their permission with these duresses. We have a Dark Writ, we have a way to draw into the pile, and we have a way to look for Doomsday. So Ponder first. I think I'm not super interested in that. The Thoughtseize could be good, but really I just need to find a Doomsday. So they lead on Ponder. Here I'll start duressing. We take Force of Negation. They have Canonist, Endurance, Quaddle, back to basics, 2 Ponders. So they only have 1 land here, so I could think about taking both Ponders, trying to choke them on lands. Or I take like Force Negation, back to basics as the cards that sort of are the biggest threat to me, because back to basics shuts down the Emrakul plan. I could also take Force Negation, Ponder, but I think that's kind of halfway. I should either take both Ponders or no Ponders. And I end up deciding that, okay, sure, maybe next turn they can Ponder into like the Canonist, into like a land for the Canonist, but they can't actually play the Canonist yet. And I'm hoping that maybe I have a window here to just resolve a Doomsday and make an Emrakul pile, and then the Canonist and Endurance and Quaddle won't matter. So I take Force, play a land, fetch out C, and take the back to basics. So our opponent does not top deck a land, they ponder into a Misty. So this is an excellent opportunity. We draw Thoughtseize, which honestly not the worst because now we can take the Canonist. Although they do have the option of like pondering into more interaction here, which is not lovely. Dress Down also, I mean, it can matter against Emrakul, but we still get the extra turn. We still get to attack them for 15. So I'm not super concerned with Dress Down here. I'm much more concerned about Canonist, because if they find Canonist and then like Counterspell, we're just never resolving a Doomsday. Blast is a pretty good pickup. If they ponder, I could consider blasting it. Do I blast this? I don't. Maybe I figured I was going to save it for Dress Down. Or maybe figuring the best thing they can ponder to is a Force, so then I can just blast the Force whenever they get it. Straight Wraith, again, I'm just desperately looking for a Doomsday here, so I'm going to cycle this immediately, and we draw mana. Still not playing this Shelldock, because what I would like to happen is to just draw a Doomsday, Writ Doomsday, put an Emrakul in the pile, and then play the Shelldock the same turn I play the Doomsday. So our opponent's got a Savannah, we draw another Dark Writ. They flash in the Quaddle, so that means they've probably picked up another green card. Prismatic Ending our Petal, that is a-okay. This shouldn't be in their deck in game 3, I don't know why it is. We continue to draw mana. And they drew and played a Canonist. So I know they still have likely Endurance. They might not have the green card anymore because they're holding up these 3 lands, but they have Endurance, Dress Down, and 1 Unknown. So really, we still can beat this. We just need a Doomsday immediately, since they probably don't have the Counterspell yet. We draw yet another Dark Writ. Go to 5. Now it's a little bit less likely that they don't have Counterspell. They drew a couple cards. We have a Blast, and we're done. I mean, we could blast the Quaddle, but they still have this Canonist in play. And we no longer have time to Emrakul, since even if I blast the Quaddle, then a Doomsday puts me down to 2 life, and I'm just dead to the Canonist swing. So I can't win anymore. All right, so we end up 3-2. A little bit of a rough last couple games to Bant, given that, you know, we kind of easily crushed them in game 1, but then game 2 and game 3 we just sat there not drawing things. But you know, sometimes that happens. That's the game, and that's why we play a whole bunch of matches. So I think we had some cool moments. The some of the decisions against the Ruala's deck were interesting, even though basically they were high risk, high reward, even though those games were quite fast. We top decked the turn 1 kill against lands, which was kind of cool, like the backwards brainstorm line where you Street Wraith into a Petal to play the brainstorm. Had some longish matches against Miracles, and then kind of got run over by Delver, but we did reasonably well. I mean, we presented reasonable things against Delver. They just had everything. So yeah, it's a 3-2. I don't think I got enough opinion on... Hang on, let me switch back to the list here real quick. So, as I was saying, I don't think I got enough opinion on Nihil Spellbomb. I'm going to try it out again. I might like some sort of graveyard interaction that just comes out of the hand, but the thing is, it's not just there for endurance. The thing is, it can turn off their Snapcaster. It can just be a cantrip for black if we need it to draw into a Doomsday pile. So it's a little bit of a multi-purpose card. I kind of like the idea, and I'm gonna try it more going forward. So we'll see. See if it's the thing is, I'm just not sure if it's good enough in its main role against endurance to warrant it, or if it's just not good enough there and maybe it's trying to be too cute. Basically, I didn't really get to do enough science with it today. It could have been really good in that game against Bant in the 5th round, where we could have played it off the extra Dark Ritual, but they had the Flusterstorm. Deck is still great. Consider is going to be out soon-ish, so I expect, well, yeah, that's like the 20-somethingth. Yeah, so I would expect that my next video with Doomsday will probably be something like right after Consider comes out, to kind of get in on that immediately. But maybe I'll make another one in between. I'll see what I'm feeling. I am working on a article on like playing or like resolving Doomsday in paper, so stay tuned for that. That should be out soon. It'll probably go up on the Doomsday wiki when it's done. Other than that, I might do some modern next time. Might do I've been kind of getting more and more tempted by the some sort of like turbo Summoner's Pact Chain of Smog nonsense. I also have been kind of upset that Sacrifice is not legal on Moto, so that I can play bad for Burnt Offering, for Sacrifice, with that like big Storm Dinosaur and like Summoner's Pact in like a wonky Spanish Inquisition shell, because, you know, just having 8 of that like make a million black mana effect seems interesting. In any case, until next time, keep on casting Thassa's Oracle.